What is going on, ladies and gents? We're here at a place and a time that we promised you we would be. You know, we ended last NFL season quite a while back, and I didn't have any videos in between. I'm not one of these dinky, just try to put out anything so you can just hear the NFL. I'm not putting out videos until I can, here's a little honor to Hulk Hogan, hear that NFL, you know, just at least a couple weeks away. And when August 1st rolls around, that's my summer. As you get older, summer ends end of July, because you know you could use that whole month of August to A, prep for fantasy, prep for the NFL season, and B, look for some NFL futures bets, something that we told you we were going to do. We told you we were going to open up this season of a Dave and a Dan talking about some NFL futures bets, trying to expose some sort of things that we found out there. I know we always talked about that, the Michael Pittman over 92.5 receptions, but I have news for you, Dave. I don't know if the NFL was, or lines makers, the sports books, got absolutely toasted with NFL futures bets, but I've noticed a precipitous drop in the availability from sportsbook to sportsbook for the player props and the player futures that are available to everybody out there. For example, that Michael Pittman bet is nowhere to be found because there's not a single sports book that has player receptions listed at all yet. Not a single one. So maybe they're going to open up here as August rolls along and we know more during training camps and who's on what team, who's out. Joe Mixon's out now. So, you know, if you took his line early, you already won it. So maybe they're just holding off. But we're here to look at round one. There will be more of some solid player futures or futures in general that we like heading into this 2025 season, which I always find weird to say because I feel like so much of this year is gone already. It's so weird to open up. Yeah, it's the 2020. It's been 2025 so long, but it is correct. This is the 2025 season.
It's good to see you, man. It doesn't feel like it's been 6 months. Right? It really doesn't. Time kind of goes by fast. And the dog days of summer, and hey, good to see your audience as well. Dog days of summer stink.
There's nothing worse.
It's the worst. I do baseball DFS content, which I actually don't mind I've done that for such a long time that I don't mind it, right? I don't love betting baseball, but DFS can actually be fun. Here's what I'm saying though. The moment you get to August 1st, like I did the Hall of Fame game video yesterday. I did a big thread on that. Like I bet it. I bet a ton of preseason. And you guys already know how I feel about this. Everyone comes at me like, oh, what a degenerate move. No, there's a real edge.
Remind everybody, because this is something I said, what? Preseason? Remind everyone. This is weirdly your special time of year.
I love it. Yeah. You know why? Because you can actually think about how many markets are where you can actually have more information than the books. Very few, right? It takes time. And here's the thing. I could still have a losing preseason this year because it's 3 weeks long. Like the sample is nothing. But I do know there's a definitive edge there, especially when you can dig into like first quarter lines and first half lines. A lot of these books are just way off on them because they don't have all the information and you can find it. So I'm looking forward to that. But the moment that hit yesterday, I came on a call with the guys over at OddsShopper and Stochastic today. I was like, all right, guys, I'm done. I'm done with baseball. I'll still talk about it, but now I'm locked. I'm dialed in. It's all I can think about is football.
I know that with the NFL, it's so hard to find that one little thing that nobody really knows about. So hard to find an edge. It's why, thank God, I always liked hockey the most, because that is the polar opposite. In the NFL, you're looking to maybe get your one little edge that in the NHL, I go scraping through all these sports books to find because it's just so different than football. But you're totally right with the preseason bets. Like if you're truly in those bunkers, that's kind of an Achilles heel of there. And maybe with these futures bets, now I know your average sports bettor is a Resident Evil zombie. They need brains. They need brains now. Without brains, they're not going to be able to get to the end of the season because they'll be dead like the 28 weeks later zombies. They need picks right away. So that's why we have your preseason picks, which you could always check out on Dave's channel or over at Stochastic and OddsShopper. But if you have the patience to wait, there's going to be some Michael Pittman type bets that at least I think I'm going to tell you some of my favorite. You guys on this channel, you all know what I was doing, a song and a dance with a hat and a cane talking about the James Cook over 3.5 touchdowns, which was his season-long line on multiple sports books.
That cannot be right. I remember you said that
Dave, it was my favorite one. I made videos, so that's how I know it's certain.
No. I believe you, but I understand there's Josh Allen, and what did he finish with? 20?
He led the NFL in touchdowns. He led the NFL in touchdowns. So I guess if 3.5 is something that's just way too low for you, how about I bring up one that I saw that I had to bring out my Monopoly monocle. I said, am I seeing 3.5? This is a guy you said many times, I love this guy. And my guess is it's only 3.5 because of the early preseason camp news that he's not the goal line back. The other back is going to be the full goal line back. If I told you to set your personal line before you just heard me start, because now you're going to know what the answer is, what's your personal rushing touchdown line on one of your guys that you like, Aaron Jones?
I knew that was coming. I didn't hear the line you gave. Did you throw it out there? Because I missed it.
No, but I won't say anything.
And I haven't looked. You've done a good job over the years of finding some of these spots.
It's only on one sports book, by the way.
Which book?
One of the FanDuel, one of the majors. But anytime you see the other ones scared to put a number out,
that are a little afraid, yeah. Aaron Jones, and you're referring, by the way, to Jordan Mason being the goal line back. 5.5.
3.5. Getting that James Cook treatment on FanDuel.
Yeah, is he going to lead the league in touchdowns? Probably not, but 3.5 on Aaron Jones right now?
Yeah. He always busts one. There's always one 40-yard touchdown.
Now, these are rushing, right? This is rushing touchdowns?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
But still, if you assume, now the problem with Aaron Jones is the injury history, right? So you can't just assume
I even factored that in. It's so low. He can miss 6 games.
I was going to say, if he plays... If this guy plays 12 games, that means you need one touchdown every 3 games, right? One touchdown every 3 games to hit the over 3.5. You might be on to something, dude.
How's that offense? How's that offense, by the way?
Yeah, right. I mean, don't go out there and assume that McCarthy's a downgrade, because he's really not. I mean, Sam Darnold, we talked about him. We said he's going to turn into a pumpkin when it matters most, and he got tuned up.
I was rooting for him, though. I was rooting for him because I like him.
But I still remember us discussing it, where it's like you have this veteran in Matthew Stafford and just like an overall McCarthy. We don't care what he does in the postseason. They've got an arsenal. Hawkinson's fully healthy. You have Justin Jefferson. You have Jordan Addison, barring a suspension. They're going to be able to move the football at will. To think that, and this is why training camp is always so funny in this respect, right? Like everyone speaks in absolutes, and that's not how it works. And I've fallen into that trap. We all have. But to think that Aaron Jones is just going to fade into the abyss this season doesn't really make even if he does, he could still give you 6 touchdowns.
Seriously, like he's so good. The funny thing is, I probably wasn't even going to bring that one up. That was one at the end. Maybe I was going to, but the way we talked about that James Cook number, the absurd number. So rather than wait to give my favorite, I really feel like I have my version of James Cook from last year. It's not 3.5, but in my opinion, it's equally low. And this is I.Pacheco over 4.5 touchdowns, rushing touchdowns for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, should I state my case, or should you maybe... How about that? I'll state my case, and then please feel free to just poke as many holes as you want in it.
Let's hear it.
So, first of all, this is another one only available on one sportsbook. Number two, this is a player who, I mean, I believe this is his 4th season. He's in his prime. He topped this number in both his first year when he was really a committee back, and then in his second year when he obviously had a huge year. I think he had like almost 10 total touchdowns or 12, something like that. He had a huge year. He was the feature back, set to have another feature back year last year. Then he broke his leg early in the season, did everything he could to try to come back. But by the time he came back, he was only so effective, really just trying to get back for the playoffs. And then they did a late season 50-50 split type of deal with him and Kareem Hunt, who at that point was a journeyman running back at home on the couch, who they've now brought back to be the second running back along with Pacheco. But there's no reason to believe that this isn't going to be a minimum 70-30 split between the in his prime Pacheco, who they've given the full opportunities to before 2 seasons ago and early last season, and Kareem Hunt. And you're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs offense, which increasingly, for whatever reason, these past couple of years has just run more and more and more and more. Maybe now they get back to throwing, but I don't know. It hasn't trended that way these last couple of years. 5 measly rushing touchdowns for Pacheco, who's never not cleared that number when he hasn't had a broken leg. This probably is my favorite futures bet so far here in this offseason.
I agree with you, but for different reasons. And
that's a great thing.
I think it's because they are going to throw more, and I want them to throw more. So if I'm looking at this Pacheco line, I want them to be more aggressive. I want them to throw downfield more. I want them to move the ball closer to the goal line and do it more often. So when I look at touchdowns, yeah, obviously like a run-heavy team, you're going to have a lot more opportunities. A Saquon Barkley, a Derrick Henry style with Lamar Jackson back there and all of that. But if I'm looking just to get over a certain number, you know what I want? I want more scoring opportunities. And I think that this Kansas City team is going to have them. I've said this a lot over the last couple of weeks for anyone who's willing to listen, typically while I'm on a baseball show. And, you could get the hooks in them. But I've said I think Kansas City is going to be a much better offense this year. Like improved offensive line, especially you get Rashee Rice. I know the suspension is looming, but we don't know how many games. Another year from Xavier Worthy. Travis Kelce, say what you want. He's still there. He's still going to be an above average tight end for at least one more year. Hollywood Brown can make a splash downfield.
Wait, who? Wait, who?
There you go. They still have him as Marquise. Look at that.
You mean a second-year receiver? No, not a first-year receiver. A receiver who's now in the second year in this Andy Reid system, who last preseason we were told had a great connection with Patrick Mahomes, but got injured in the preseason, made it back for the playoffs, so did get some games under his belt with an older Travis Kelce and a potentially suspended Rashee Rice for 4 or 5 games, whatever it's going to end up being. And we have a 525-yard receiving total for Hollywood Brown in this offense, which now looks poised to throw it more and be better offensively. I really think Mahomes is maybe going to take it a little more personal after these really lackluster offensive couple of seasons here. I really like this Hollywood Brown play as well. I mean, you could say injury is, I don't know, something you have to worry about. But this is not an older player. This is a player who still is in his athletic prime. What is he, 27, 28? So he hasn't been in the league all that long. And I think a year after getting injured, he's primed. I mean, do you really have to have that great of a year to hit, 530 yards? So
not
this is another Chiefs player that I like.
I mean, think about it. Would you rather have, if you're just going for the touchdowns, right? Forget about the yards for a running back. Just back to Pacheco for a second. If you really want to get over that touchdown number, would you rather have a team that runs more but scores less, or a team that throws more and scores more? Because just because you're throwing more doesn't mean that these are all going to be like, if they get down to the goal line, they're not going to get away from running the football. But if you can get to the goal line more often, if you can get far more favorable scoring opportunities, what do you want? 2 years ago, this team was number one in yards per game, and they were, I think, number one in scoring per game. Very basic stats, but we're not looking at anything, advanced anyway as far as these props go. Last year, they were 17th in yards and 15th in points. They've already talked about getting back to the aerial attack, more big splash plays. That does nothing but help a running back scoring equity. The more points you score, the better the opportunity is for the running back, the lead running back, to score. And Kareem Hunt, come on, man. Those good games that he had last year, go look at that.
He needed 42 carries.
Exactly. It was all volume. It would be like 28 carries or like 30 carries for 101 or for 80. And you're like, oh, nice game. But it wasn't efficient. You could have plugged anybody in there and had him do that.
No, he's an old, dusty player who probably, he doesn't have any futures listed, but he would probably go under. So I'm going to look for a different old, dusty player to take an under on. This guy's older than you think. And this is a high number if you ask me. This is none other than Adam Thielen, who's literally turning 35 this season,
yeah.
Who now on this Carolina Panthers team, he had that great first year there 2 seasons ago. He predictably got a pretty bad injury last year, or if it wasn't a bad injury, it was just nagging injuries, but he missed a decent amount of time. This is a team that drafted a player. How high was their wide receiver that they drafted?
First round.
Yeah, so first round draft pick capital. So he's going to see the field a lot. Leggett had a lot of time out there. So Adam Thielen, I believe.
What about they actually had a good run game with Chuba Hubbard last year, and they were willing to run the football a lot more. Like less spots where they were trailing by 100 every game. Chuba Hubbard actually kept them, I won't say competitive, but they weren't.
He was great.
And also, remember you said 2 years ago that Adam Thielen had that great season? Remember that if you actually go back, it was a good first 5 or 6 weeks where, remember, he had those crazy blow-up games. I'm looking at it now. 145, 76, 107, 115, 72. Those games were all in succession. And then he totally fell off. This guy had 300 yards over his final half of the season. And now
he was 32 at the time. He's 34 now. He's going to be 35. I really just feel like he's going to be used sporadically, third down, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And also Bryce Young, whether you're talking about fantasy, whether you're talking about any of these players, I believe when he came in late last season and he had that quote unquote resurgence that a lot of people talk about, I believe that's what I always refer to as the house money theory. That's as easy as terms of pressure goes as it will ever be to play in the NFL. You've already been benched, and now you're just coming back in when your team is way out of it at the end of the season, and I think you can play well in those situations. It's going to be a whole different thing when you're starting 0-0, and teams are going to be really trying to get at you once again after you had that decent stretch of play to end the year. I don't think just saying, oh yeah, Bryce Young's going to look like he did at the end of the year and be more effective passing the ball means that you should be worried about them being a better offense. That's just my personal opinion, but you're talking about the third or fourth best receiver on this team right now. Younger Adam Thielen, maybe, even if it was just a couple years ago. 35-year-old white wide receiver on a bad team. No, I'll take that under 600.5 receiving yards. I mean,
if there's one that I'd be hesitant, because I agree with you on these.
Yeah.
This is probably it, only because it's entirely possible that he's still, and after everything I just said, that would sound like I'm in full agreement, but The only thing now that I think about it a little further, because I don't know which ones you're bringing up. We're just shooting from the hip here.
Yeah, whatever we talk about, I'm just we talked about dusty old Kareem Hunt, so I brought up a dusty old guy. So whatever we kind of veer into, I'm going to bring up the next one naturally.
To me, I think he could still be the second best. And I don't know. I don't know how quickly McMillan's worked in. He's clearly going to be used. Don't get me wrong. But the thing about Thielen is, and I just looked this up now, he called almost 80% of his passes last year, and he might just be a safety blanket for a young Bryce Young. Another thing, who are you to talk about the impact of rookies when you chastised me for my Malik Neighbors overs all early last season?
Yeah. That Malik Neighbors one went very well for you. I'm just
plenty didn't go well for me.
I'm trying to use the rapid memory. I mean, look, I am more prone now to trust a rookie a little, but so many of them, it's like, what the hell? Yeah. Remember when Luke McCaffrey was a name that people were excited about? Yeah. Is he even going to be on the team this year? Just so quickly, it can go from, rags to riches. But with the defense, is the way they are, and that continuing to trend the way it is, it seems like rookies have a higher probability of doing better than they did in previous years. So, but you are right. You are right. He can. This rookie can come in and be relatively ineffective, and Thielen can be a safety blanket. But I just can't think of the last guy. Just like 35 running him out there. I just have a hard time seeing him.
I get it.
It was like last year with Ezekiel Elliott. He had a 500 or 600 yard thing, and he was the starting running back in Dallas. He didn't even come close.
He was terrible.
Not even close.
You're right. That age cliff is real. And to your point, you're not saying McMillan is going to come out and crush. You're saying there's another mouth to feed that wasn't there last year, and they drafted this guy 8th overall. So I get what you're saying. My only reservation in a spot like this is, does Thielen just keep being like the old reliable, not a deep threat, but someone that just like chips away at it for 50-yard games?
Even Edelman couldn't do it at the end. So, we'll see. That's definitely not one I'm as excited about as the Pacheco. I'll try to give you an extra little star, something that I'm really excited about. This next one, of a 5-star, I would give it a 3, probably a 3-star, bordering on 4, because in the NHL, I had this, it's called the blanket unders theory. If people are at absurd numbers, there are just so many things that could derail that. Connor McDavid, missed time. Leon Draisaitl was just benched to be rested towards the end of the year.
Right.
Kirill Kaprizov missed a bunch of time. These guys had 100-point totals. So anybody with these totals, Pasternak, 52 goals, Matthews, 50, all of them went under. If you have a ridiculously high total where you can just not get it fair and square, and everything, like I think you mentioned, you have to get almost a perfect run out for certain things to happen.
Yeah.
I believe this guy, there has not been a bigger fantasy fan of this guy in the previous couple seasons because he was so disrespected. But if you're showing me that Kyren Williams has to score 12 rushing touchdowns as a small running back who always has had bad ankles and is always dealing with nagging lower body injuries and just isn't built to take the type of beating that the Rams have thrust upon him these last 2 seasons, 11.5 touchdowns on Caesars. I believe it's 10.5 on 1 or 2 of the other sports books, but 11.5, way too high. That's just one. I don't care. He could have a great season and score 10 rushing touchdowns. That's way too high for me.
Man, this is on my list too. You could talk about the injury concerns or anything like that. There's another thing. Sean McVay has never really shown loyalty. In the sense of, like, he said that Sonny Michel was going to be, used heavily, and he wasn't at all. And who was the one there? Who was the one there right at
Well,
at the
there was
beginning?
Scam Acres,
Cam Akers.
who he,
Cam Akers is that's the other one. That's the one I meant to reference. But Sonny Michel, same thing. Cam Akers, going into that season, it was like, hey, we plan on using Cam Akers a ton. By week 2, he was either benched or gone. Like sooner than later, he was gone. And they just drafted Jarquez Hunter. And Sean McVay really wanted this guy. I believe they traded up to get him. Now, does that mean that he's an imminent threat? Maybe not. But Sean McVay's mind on running backs shifts with the wind. And like Kyren last year, yeah, he had solid performance. I never looked at Kyren and just personally, I never looked at Kyren and was just like, man, this guy's awesome. I looked at it as a guy who's I'd say above average, but also ton of volume. They had, and in fairness, they had a lot of offensive line injuries early in the season, but 11.5 touchdowns is a lot of touchdowns. And if you want to add fuel to the fire here, now, last year they had a Cooper Kupp who just stopped being used, and it was the Puka Nacua show. You added Devontae Adams to this offense, and they added a pass-catching wide receiver. Very possible that, assuming Matthew Stafford's back issues don't flare up again, you got Puka Nacua, you got Devontae Adams. Like, that's a massive 1-2 punch. So, yeah, you could take the same logic that I referenced with Pacheco, like more points, more yards equals more touchdowns. But that's 4.5. This is 11.5 touchdowns. A lot of things have to go right for anyone to score 11.5 touchdowns.
Yeah. And I do think, I do think McVay loves him. And I think when McVay loves someone, he rides them to the ground until they're not effective anymore, and then he'll turn his back on them. Scam Akers, he loved until he had that Achilles injury, came back, wasn't the same, and then kind of just got rid of him. So if there's any sort of dip in the play of Kyren, there's going to be. I mean, they still have quorum there, so I'm not buying that he's going to be replaced. I'm just saying this guy's always been in college. He was a scat back. He was his specialty was catching passes, and he's been thrust into one of these bigger roles. It's like, this is like if you gave Jalen Warren a massive role. Yeah, I think they're going to excel, but after a while, they might break down. And after this workload of the last 2 seasons, I'm going to go under on 11.5, just such a crazy number. And now I think I should give you one of my 5 stars, since I'm saying there are some that I like. This
real quick, just one more thing for this play. I pulled it up because I remembered seeing this. McVay on draft day had said to the GM, Les Snead, he goes, "There's no question that's who I want. I didn't think we'd be able to get him today unless we did that trade up. That was my top player for today." He's talking about Hunter. Now, again, does that mean anything? Will that materialize? Not necessarily. I just don't think he loves Blake Corum as much as. So there's 3 backs there. Could be interesting. Maybe it's not a 25 touch per game situation for Kyren Williams this year. Go ahead.
It's got to come down. It's got to come down. So going back to what you were saying about the kind of like trying to find your edges. Do it in the preseason. NFL, not a lot of opportunities to find those edges. But then when you see markets that aren't normal, they're a little weird. You guys know that I attack these in the NHL playoffs when a couple of the books added them. It's the head-to-head market, which I only saw available on ESPN Bet. Now, there are a few that I like, but there's one that it just stands out above the rest of them. And that is George Kittle. Fewer receiving yards than Trey McBride on the Arizona Cardinals. So Trey McBride, more receiving yards than George Kittle. When you look at these 2 guys, Trey McBride had 150 targets last year, opposed to George Kittle's like 94. You're talking about 33% more targets. Somebody who Kyler peppers all the time. This isn't a touchdown bet. We all know what happened. I mean, you brought it up last year, episode after episode with Trey McBride and those touchdowns. This is just a yardage bet. George Kittle, there are games he gets 3 targets because he's staying in to run block every single game. This is a guy who's going to be 32 this year, has missed so many games in previous years, not last year, but you look at previous years before that, he misses so much time due to injury. And you just have to get one more yard from Trey McBride over George Kittle. I think this is an absolute slam dunk. I would take it if there was a 50-yard spread. This is what I really would. I mean, that's how confident I am. I mean, George Kittle is not one of these guys putting up 1,300-yard seasons. Trey McBride, with the amount of targets he gets, he really could. He could have a massive, like, original Travis Kelce type year. So this is one of my two favorites for sure.
Okay.
Is it just weird? Is it like do you think Kittle, like, how about that? The stuff I said about Kittle, is any of that not true, you think, or isn't going to play as much of a factor?
1,100 yards last year, right? I don't think he missed one game. So here's the thing. Debo's gone. Ayuk is coming back from a crippling injury. And we don't know when he'll return. And when he does, how slowly is he going to get worked into the mix? Juwan Jennings is dealing with an injury right now, and he wants a new contract. Ricky Pearsall, I think, could be really good this year. Trey McBride is obviously a stud. I love that guy from the beginning. Couldn't agree more with you. Marvin Harrison's going into his second year. They're clearly going to use him more, but really it is a 1-2 punch there in Arizona. There's nobody else that really stands out, maybe like a Michael Wilson, but he's not going to do any damage. I would take McBride here. I'm less confident than you are, only because that offense right now in San Francisco is so much in flux that, like, if something happens with Jennings and Ayuk isn't back in time, knowing that Debo's gone, the offense should be producing better with Christian McCaffrey healthy. I do think it's possible that George Kittle has a really good year.
They just don't run him. They don't run him enough. Like, they don't run him out there in routes enough to, like, it's just not it's almost like you're getting such a ridiculous head start. There was no Ayuk for mostly all last season. There was no McCaffrey.
Yeah, fair point. And Debo was not good. So yeah, sure.
It's just not, as I've told the viewers the past couple of years, I've just nailed so many Niners bets. I know Shanahan better than he knows himself. He can't stop him. So, like, when they're running the ball effectively, there will be multiple games. Kittle has under 5 targets because they're running effectively and he's just staying in and he's blocking and he does that effectively. You're going to get 0 games where that's the deal with McBride. McBride just is such a security blanket too for Kyler Murray.
You sold me on Trey McBride. I think it's a fair point, especially given, like Ayuk was out most of last year anyway. Also, you think about this, you'd be good at doing preseason stuff because a lot of times futures are the same kind of logic, right? Where you're trying to not tell the future, but the whole idea is like, all right, what type of nuance can I interpret here? And can I separate the noise from everything else? And that's what you do with futures picks. By the way, Andy, if you don't mind a quick plug here.
100%.
Everything, all of my picks this year, like for preseason and for the regular season, I'm going to make them free over on the Tails free picks page. Last year, I told you before the show, like, I don't love being beholden to the idea that if people are paying, I have to make sure that it's regimented and structured and everything like that. And it's not fair to anybody else. So I figure put them out for free all the time, and you guys can come check them out. I already dropped the preseason pick yesterday, and I'll be doing it throughout the whole preseason and the regular season, be it sides, props, whatever. I'll be joining you here. But if you don't mind, I'll drop the link to the free picks page on Tails in the description so people know where to find it.
Especially, I mean, if you want that preseason stuff, that is Dave's specialty. I'll try to maybe learn a thing or two. I'm way more open to learning about preseason betting than I am trying to learn anything about baseball. I'm out for life.
I hear you.
That's it. There's nothing you can say. There's nothing you can say to get me in one of those ballparks betting on anything. No.
Anyway, look,
that's it. I got a different one out here now.
Isn't it crazy though how much of this we've seen? Last year, Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, These guys were like 4 of the best pass catchers and receivers in the league, and all of them were rookies.
Not a time to hate rookies.
It's just not, man. I mean, they're acclimating so much quicker than we've seen. Even, you know what the crazy? Even rookies. Even rookie tight ends. Like, I'm doing a ton of
they were for forever stayaways. Like
and then you see Brock Bowers come in and just dominate, and he's not.
And then Laporta before that, right? Didn't Laporta have a big?
Yeah, that's a great example. See it all the time. So I'm doing all these best ball drafts this year. I'm like, hey, you tell me I can get Warren at 107, 110, and like all of these rookies at 180, 190? Sure, I'll take my shots on a Mason Taylor or any of these. Why the hell not, man? Like, who's to say some of these rookies can't come in and just do it, and you're getting awesome value on them, maybe even in the betting market too.
So this one that you have on the screen here, these 2 rookies from last year, maybe you look at this, McConkey over Brock Bowers. Wait, what is this? These are just 2 studs. Why are you picking one over the other? For me, it's relatively simple. You have Herbert on the Chargers, who has made monster wide receivers in the past, including what was going on with McConkey last year. So you know that when it comes to Herbert and a wide receiver, he can get those numbers up there. Then on the other side, you have Brock Bowers with a new quarterback in Geno Smith. I just think the tandem from last year in the same system, who already have good chemistry and you know what you're going to get from them, have a higher ceiling than Brock Bowers and Geno Smith. I'm curious to know what's the best year anyone, including receivers, it's probably Metcalf, one of those years, had with Geno Smith, because I just think the ceiling is definitely higher for McConkey with the way Herbert can get him the ball, even though it is a run-first system, and even though the Raiders are going to be down a lot. I mean, let's see how Geno Smith does in this environment. It might just be a catastrophe over there. You know, new type of system going. Anytime you have an established connection versus a brand new one, I'm going to lean towards that established connection. Also, how about this? A wide receiver over a tight end. I think just, you know, other than like prime Travis Kelce, who are you really taking over one of the top projected wide receivers in the NFL in terms of yardage? Yeah, and by the way, when both of these props opened up for betting, they McConkey opened up 50 yards higher than Bowers, and now they've kind of come together. But when they opened up, people seem to think McConkey was a better bet to do a little bit better.
Yeah, it's funny because Bowers is not like a prototypical tight end at all. But also, let's not bury the lead here either. Ashton Genty, right?
Yep.
They had zero run game. I mean, zero run game last year. They had Zamir White, who I was wrong on. I thought he would at least be okay. He was terrible.
Hey, what are you going to do? You take 50-50 shots on opportunity. I mean, Chuba Hubbard gets a ton of opportunity, goes off. Zamir White.
It's an opportunity play. Exactly. But remember they went to Sincere McCormick at one point? Like,
Sincere McCormick.
They had nobody.
And then, remember I didn't know who that was? And then you're like, I don't think he's what you think he is. And then and then we had Alex pull up who's Sincere McCormick with, no, this is not a young Irish boy, but maybe he is. Who knows? Well, who am I to judge by a picture? I wonder
if I mentioned this when we had that conversation, but the greatest example was I was shocked to see that Kyle O'Quinn was not white, the NBA player.
This is where I'm going to nod my head and pretend where I go, all right.
Yeah, no.
Fair enough. We'll revisit how black this white name actually is at a future date. How's that for a segment? That's
the black guy, man. And I thought he was white. I'm not.
How black is this white name? That's gonna be one of our future segments.
Funny enough, Ladd McConkey and Brock Bowers are both white, and it'd be wild if Brock and Ladd weren't. But I can see where you're going with on that. They did just draft Trey Harris in the second round, but I see. Yeah, I trust Herbert over Geno.
I have one here that I found out right before we started recording that I think they bumped it up one, which means maybe I found something. But this was of the James Cook type of variety. This was DeAndre Swift, only available on FanDuel, over 4.5 touchdowns on a team that didn't bring in anybody to replace him, who seemingly was happy with him. This guy's never scored fewer than 5 touchdowns. And there were years on Detroit he was injured. There were years where he was like borderline benched. I mean, the Eagles didn't end up using him a ton towards like the back half of that season they had him. And all these years he's finished with 5 or more rushing touchdowns. So it was at 4.5. Rumor has it that before we started filming, they bumped it to 5.5. I don't know what would have caused that other than my dinky bets, but I don't think that's going to be it. But is there something I'm not potentially thinking of here with this low total?
Your dinky bets in like a pretty illiquid market like this, depending on what you're considering dinky or how they flag your account, could actually, I don't know. But no,
there's something I like about that. I don't know why. Just what do you consider dinky? I'm just picturing items floating around the screen, and you have to. That's how my game show mind works. Like, choose what's dinky.
Dinky, a dinky bet could be $10, So it depends. No, I don't think $10 is moving it. No, I don't mind Swift at 4.5. The offense should be better. Like, opportunities are one thing, but the whole success of the offense is so important here as well. So Swift is decent. I got one for you. I want your thoughts, and it's also
because I'm done. I'm out. By the way, I'm out. I got nothing left.
All right, let me give you this one. Here's one receiving touchdowns, and it's also 4.5.
How about this? Okay, all right.
I'm sorry,
If you have another one, I'm going to try to guess it. Garrett Wilson
is at 4.5. I feel like everyone hates this Jets team this year, when I don't think they're going to be as bad. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go out there and win the Super Bowl, but they bolstered their offensive line. They had injuries there last year. And think of it like this, right? First of all, Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, those are 2 good enough backs. Assuming Breece Hall's fully back, Braylon Allen's pretty good too. Not a bad backfield. This could be like the poor man's Philadelphia Eagles with Justin Fields. Think about that. I think the defense had a down year last year, but I expect them to be much better than they were last year defensively. Very easy schedule if you go and look at that schedule. And Justin Fields is exactly the type of guy I want throwing the ball to Garrett Wilson. He is dominant. He provides dominant performances for his wide receiver ones and then just sucks everywhere else, which I'm fine with.
I wasn't aware that he was that good with his wide receiver ones, but now thinking about it, DJ Moore had good experiences with him, right?
What about George Pickens? Before Russ took over, George Pickens was having a nice season in Pittsburgh.
Was he getting touchdowns?
I'd have to go back.
Oh, you know what's funny? You remember this was actually one of our. This was one of our things last year. Remember when it was touchdown bets? I said I hate the thought of being right and losing, which is what I thought touchdown bets were. Like, someone could have 12 catches, 167 yards, and no touchdowns. Like, can Justin Fields get him passing touchdowns, like, in the red zone?
I think he can. And the reason I think he can, and I know you could argue that Pickens had an awesome, like, catch radius too, but I think Garrett Wilson could average like double-digit targets per game, honestly. I think you could see massive target volume for him, like 35% target share. Make no mistake about it. Garrett Wilson is one of the preeminent receivers in football. He's one of the best receivers in the entire game. And I think he gets slept on because he played with guys like, Zach Wilson, and who else did they have? Like Boyle, and then these guys like
Mike White.
And then even Rodgers last year, when he finally started catching his stride, they brought Devontae Adams in. And Devontae Adams is no slouch. And he had a previous connection with Rodgers in Green Bay. Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson, to me, could be one of the better connections we see, honestly, all season. I bet I don't bet a lot of overs in the future or in futures markets. I have a sizable bet on, and by sizable, what do we mean by that, right, Andy?
Non-dinky is what I mean.
Non-dinky. Yeah, I'm not saying I have like a $10,000. I would never, not for a future,
No, you have a non-dinky bet on it.
But Justin Fields loves his wide receiver ones.
All right, so Garrett Wilson over on receiving touchdowns. You got anything else hidden in your binder back there?
Not really. I haven't done a ton with futures. Just we'll be digging into a ton of preseason stuff as well.
I really do. I think there's not a ton of it. Like I said, those receptions aren't even there. A lot of these ones that I gave you, like those Swift is not even on other books. Guys aren't. So I bet you by the time we do the next one, we're going to do one more. I bet you more is going to open up. But still, there was a decent amount in here. How about, hey, it's a Dave and a Dan, and I feel like a lot of these plays are more of the Dave variety. Dan's showing up. He wants a division winner. He wants a long shot. He wants a Super Bowl. You have anything for Dan out there? You have like how about this? You talked, I believe, during in the playoffs of how close the Rams were to beating the Eagles. And like that ended up being like their only true scare. So you have this Rams team that kind of has gotten sneakily better. They're bringing in Devontae Adams. How about Rams to win the division? I believe I saw plus 195.
I have no issues with that. I do think the 49ers will be markedly better than they were last year, though. That's what are they?
But even if they're better than last year, they do seem like a team who was there every year on the downturn. Like they seem like a team whose ceiling was clearly a few years ago, and now they're doing that thing where you're just peeling away layers of the onion, but it's still the same layers there. It's an older McCaffrey. It's an older Kittle. Ayuk's not there. Debo's gone. So yeah, I think the Rams got a pretty good shot of winning that division with kind of the way they ended last season, like feeling like they maybe just missed out at the end when you were probably sweating some pickles there in Philly. What about any other division? What are you? I feel like you're a Bengals guy or something.
I was big on the Bengals like offensive output last year because it was just very obvious that I had an MVP bet on Joe Burrow, like when they were what were they like 1-6 or something, right? You remember at one point they were 1-6, and yeah, I'll go to the grave on that being a good bet. He didn't win it, obviously, but they were
almost there, man. Last week,
dude, if they won that game and got into the playoffs, I think.
Wait a minute. Oh, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes because if they made the playoffs, you have that MVP locked up.
That's what I mean.
So then I was just thinking, what was the money line spread on Denver? It was probably atrocious once KC was resting everyone, right?
Yeah, that was the thing because it was the Bengals played Denver in like week 17.
Yeah, it was the last week of the season, and they rested everyone. And on Netflix, they showed Burrow watching that game like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago in the quarterback show. I think he was just like eating Fruit Loops or something, or whatever, just saying like, yep.
The week before that, though, they needed to beat the Broncos. And it was that crazy game that went to overtime. There was the kickoff, the upright. I think Marvin Mims had like 2 touchdowns in that game or something crazy. There was a lot. It was a really, really good game, and they did win it. But then you knew Denver was going to beat the shit out of Kansas City the following week. But my thinking was, if the Bengals sneak into the playoffs, there is no other MVP, in my opinion. There's no other MVP candidate that's even half worthy because the Bengals had far and away the worst defense, and Burrow kept them competitive every single week. So
100%.
I like
100%.
them. But not to win, and Baltimore is good. I think the division, though, that is most interesting is, do you think Kansas City wins again? Because looking at that division, I think the Chargers are a good football team, much better coaching than in the past. They've only gotten better. I like the Broncos. I'm a Bo Nix guy, Like, I like Sutton. They just added.
I wasn't aware, but now that's going into my internal notebook.
I was a big Knicks guy. I bet him to be rookie of the year. And
he's a creative player in Madden that they forgot to add any personality to. I remember I still couldn't think. I'm like, what? I couldn't pick his voice out of a lineup right now.
Yeah.
I have no clue.
It's funny.
Like,
rookie of the year in like week 14. Because he was a massive dog because Jaden Daniels was running away with it. And then over a 4 or 5 week stretch, Daniels starts struggling and Knicks. And now I'm looking at it, it's even money. And he ended up, and I bet it at like 10-1 or something nuts early in the year. So that's one thing to point out. There are some good opportunities there where if a guy gets off to a rough start and someone else looks like they're running away with it, but you don't think it's sustainable. Sometimes, Andy, waiting to make these bets until you're in season, you could, like, Joe Burrow didn't win, so maybe it's a bad example, but you were never getting odds even remotely close to that. And that was actually live late in the season to win on massive plus money. So I'm saying Broncos and Chargers are both around plus 300, and the Chiefs are minus 120. I just think that division's way better than it's been.
Do you like one of those teams more than the other?
Chargers. Yeah.
Me too. It seems like, right, that first good year, then you take the next step under that coach. I mean, Harbaugh, you obviously know how he does in those first couple of years. But now for those Dans, I despise when I put in bets, I don't know if this is arrogant. I'm expecting to win them. The Pacheco thing, that money's already in my bank account as far as my head goes. When it comes to these, 100%. When it comes to these, the long shots, it's mostly free. I'm just trying to come up with something I go as far down in the odds where I can convince myself, I wouldn't be shocked if that happened. And the first one that I'm going to bring up here is DK Metcalf, most receiving touchdowns on the season, plus, is that 4,200? And that's for the exact reasons you'd think. He's really the only receiver they have there in Pittsburgh. He's going to be playing with Rodgers in the event that Rodgers is now another year removed. By the way, one thing about Rodgers, like, people love acting like, he's just full guard. You remember when you used to give somebody time to return from something like a torn Achilles, and it was always the second season back? They're actually more like themselves. We just deleted that fully with Aaron Rodgers, despite the fact that he was like 40 years old. And now this is his second year removed, and we know how he locks in on these top receivers. Yes, it remains to be seen if DK Metcalf is going to be that guy or what the team's going to look like, if the offense is going to be good. But if he just peppers him with those red zone touchdowns, which we've seen him do, yes, with Devontae Adams, and I know like he has that long connection, but who else is he going to have a connection with down there? So I don't know. DK Metcalf plus 4,200 most receiving touchdowns is now that is a little dink you could put. Just that a real small. That was your aforementioned $10, $20 dink.
Yeah, right. That's just the peanuts.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to do this with, here's the prerequisite, and you've basically said it. I'm willing to do this with any known quality wide receiver with virtually zero competition who's a massive long shot. Metcalf, Garrett Wilson is also 4-1. Is it likely? No, obviously not. They're 40-1, but
you know how it is, Dave. If you put out a plus 4,200 pick, they demand that it wins.
That it wins, of course. But the truth is, when you look at some of these guys, it's like, I think Garrett Wilson and Metcalf should have shorter odds than A.Brown, and they don't. And as crazy as that sounds, it's like, you're not talking about who's going to have more yards, because there's a difference. Like, if you were to just set yardage props and then that's receiving touchdowns, right? I thought it was receiving yards. My fault. I like Metcalf even more for that reason. I like Metcalf a lot more for touchdowns than I would for yards. But when you're looking at, it's funny because
the reason I don't do yards, I just feel like, I feel like there are a few guys who are far and away. Like
James
Cook won the rushing touchdowns last year with a projection of 3.5. When you involve touchdowns, as I keep telling you, there's a little more luck involved. There's more variance. You can get some freak who comes out of nowhere, and I don't feel like that's the case with most receiving yards. So that's why I'm coming here with the touchdowns. Big guy playing with Aaron Rodgers in the end zone. Not a ton of wide receiver competition, maybe with the tight ends, but I don't know. Metcalf, most touchdowns. And
yeah, I like it. I read it wrong and thought it said yards, but I would prefer touchdowns for a guy like Metcalf over yards. Yeah.
And well, then if there's the receiving, here is the rushing. And this is Chase Brown, the unquestioned, all-purpose back that was just ran completely, not into the ground because it wasn't all season, but used in all situations. They didn't care about limiting his touches. Chase Brown on the Cincinnati Bengals, most rushing touchdowns, and I just will say that James Cook, who was thought of a guy who's never going to play on the goal line, had a 3.5 projection, had the most rushing touchdowns in the NFL. So almost, there is no pick that can be that bad. I'm looking for somebody who's always going to get those opportunities at the goal line. We just saw Zach Moss is not a part of the Cincinnati Bengals. Chase Brown plus 5,000 on ESPN Bet on an offense that's going to be great. And like what Dave said before, the more times you're throwing down to that 1 yard line, the more times that you're down in that red zone, the more chances you're going to have to score those rushing touchdowns. And yes, we know about all those wide receiver weapons, but what if they find themselves on the 2 yard line a ton? I mean, it's just, so I was looking for some long shots. You guys want those long shots? Now you got those long shots. There's another one for you.
You know who I think fits that mold too? Bucky Irving.
Oh. Yes, because Rachaad White ain't getting any rushes from the one.
No, they really are not huge on Rachaad White at this point. Bucky Irving was the better goal line back for sure last year. So yeah, like again, I just want, if I'm doing something like, just give me the guys that I know could do it. Not that they're likely to do it, but that they could do it. And someone in Chase Brown, even more than Bucky Irving, because there's really nobody behind them, right? Like,
yeah, Brooks, I think they brought Pirine back, like something like that.
And Brooks is a 6th round rookie. So Chase Brown, and all they're doing is talking positively about how much they want to get Chase Brown involved this year. So I think that's a really interesting one. Aside from that, just looking at touchdowns, there's nobody that jumps off the page. It's funny, James Cook is plus 3,000 despite leading it last year, plus 3,000. Jonathan
Who's
Taylor,
the favorite?
What's that?
Who's the favorite, Barkley or Henry?
Take a guess who's second.
So I guess it's not Barkley. It's not Taylor. Am I just forgetting some bruising running back?
It's going to be real tough for you to guess. I'm just going to tell you, and I don't blame you. It's Jalen Hurts.
Oh, there was legitimately a 0, but no, not a 1, not a 2. There was a 0% chance I was getting that.
I know. I could tell you were just going through the running backs, so I was like, I'm not going to bother torturing.
That's a good assist. Good cutoff. Solid cutoff.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts. Yeah, that segment could have gotten ugly, huh?
But, I mean, we'll be here for another 30 minutes, and now finally we're wrapping it up. Our first episode here because we've hit that classic mark. I don't want to make this one of these 6-hour podcasts, but I think this was pretty good. I round up a bunch to put in front of you and see what we have. But I mean, this is all just the pre-excitement that we have here. We have a full month. I'm sure plenty of people, doing fantasy and doing best ball and getting their full fall football season. You guys know how I feel once September rolls around. It's my favorite 3-month stretch, not just because of football, but because of everything. We will start to ramp up the videos and content here. Obviously, the NFL, the NHL, still have my comedy pods out there. Dave, remind everybody one more time, and we will have the link down below where to find your preseason stuff and the free picks that you were going to be putting out.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. And this is a lot of fun. Always enjoy coming on and doing these shows. We had a blast last year. But yeah, you just shoot over to, like I said, we'll throw the link down there. it'll bring you right to my profile over on Tails at OddsShopper, where you have like a ton of people in the marketplace there. You can just click follow on my name and then it'll all pop up. You can turn notifications on too, so it's pretty sweet. But they'll all be free throughout the preseason and the regular season. Like I said, less responsibility for me, Andy. When I see something I like, I'm going to throw it up there, and you can tail it if you'd like.
Solid. And in the meantime, I'll be trying to concoct different ways to make the show fun. Like, there's always a good segment. There was the saying segment. What is the origin of those? Now this year, it may be the whitest name with the blackest guy. That might be the new segment of the year. Whitest name, blackest guy. But yeah, we're gonna bring back those sayings.
Or guess the race.
We still got some time to iron that out. I'm sure I will. I'm sure I'll come up with some good ideas. But we'll do another one of these before the season starts. As always, thank you for coming on. I'm looking forward to a solid second season, a sophomore season. We could build on our Ladd McConkey rookie year and beat Brock Bowers for most receiving yards. Dave, thanks again. I will see you, in a couple of weeks before the season starts.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. I'll see you soon.